Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Rocking Horse Podcast. I'm your host, Spritney Beers. And today we are doing Mortal Kombat 1995. The live action one, of course. It's directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. He's did Event Horizon and all the Resident Evil films. He did Soldier with Kurt Russell. That one was pretty good. I remember that, watching that as a kid. He did Resident Evil Apocalypse, Resident Evil Extinction, Death Race, Resident Evil Afterlife, Resident Evil Retribution, Resident Evil Final Chapter. But Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat, man. Another childhood movie. Man, this thing had like accurately casted people. It was really good. It had Christopher Lambert as Raiden, Robin Cho as Liu Kang, Lyndon Ashby as Johnny Cage, Haruyuki Tagawa as Shang Tsung, Talia Soto as what was her name? I want to say Katrina, but it's not Katrina. She was... Who was she? Sonya Blade is played by Bridget Wilson. Like, I made all of my... Well, I'm making it seem like I have a billion brothers and sisters. I made my I made my sister watch this. I made my brother watch this, and I made my other brother watch this. And we just understood Mortal Kombat. And then when the movie was over, we'd go out in the backyard or in the living room and start fighting, throwing each other, pretending to kill each other with Sub-Zero attacks and Scorpion moves, and like one of us was Reptile, one of us was Goro. And just beat each other. Not only just my siblings, it was my cousins too. My cousins would come over. I'd show them Mortal Kombat. We'd watch Mortal Kombat. They'd like it. And then we'd go in the backyard and start fighting. And, you know, it's the greatest thing ever. Greatest movie ever. I'm sure when this movie came out, the adaptation from video game to movie was a strange one. Like now, when someone makes a video game movie, people will have something to say about it, and I'm sure it was going insane back in the days. Like, there's got to be a reason for them to get to the island, you know. Liu Kang's brother in the movie is killed by Shang Tsung. He sees it in a dream, so he has to go. You know, but he has to ask for permission first by the elders that from a monk civilization that he's from, and they tell him like, no, you can't go, blah, 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 blah. It's not your turn or something like that. And then Raiden shows up and he's like, yeah, you're gonna die, blah, blah, blah. Liu Kang has a reason to go. His brother died and he wants revenge, in a sense. Johnny Cage is not a struggling actor. He's like a famous actor, but he's doing like B movies now, and his movies aren't doing so well. And a respected martial arts master tells him, "Hey, you should go there. It's Mortal Kombat. It'll really you'll earn some real respect because it's a real tournament. You know, people get hurt, people die. You participate, you'll be all right." And then it turns out that it was Shang Tsung wanting him to go to Mortal Kombat. Bridget Wilson, she plays Sonya. Sonya's reason to go was because her partner died. And coincidentally, it's weird how they mention another Mortal Kombat character. His name was Stryker. Stryker ends up coming out in the games, or he is in the games, but he's partners with Sonya, and their mutual partner is Lieutenant or Captain Jax. Jax ends up getting, metallic arms in the sequels. You just briefly see him in this movie. That's her reason for going onto the island. So they meet at the docks and they see this giant boat and they get on the boat and Shang Tsung is like, ha ha ha. Sonya wants to get to the bottom of it, and Shang Tsung is like, not so fast. And he has two of the most iconic ninjas under his spell, which we thought, I remember watching it, I'm like, they don't work together. But for the sake of the movie, he has them under like a spell or something like that. That's what I was told a while ago. Unless they're working together in this movie, which would be weird because they're mortal and immortal enemies to the end. Scorpion and Sub-Zero, they show up and they want to fight Sonya, Liu Kang, and Johnny Cage. Raiden appears. All right, and that's like just the boat ride, and then we get to the island. The freaking island. That in itself could have just been a whole movie, like just the island, the Mortal Kombat island where they fight. That in itself, like there's things in there that are strange. There's like creatures running around. There's portals to other dimensions. There's statues that come to life. The statues in that movie are amazing looking. But I guess when you cross over, those said statues are now like organic. I don't know. It's a statue, but within them, there's still like a living thing. I don't know. It was very interesting. It's a really, really cool island. And I'm like, this could have been a movie in itself. Yeah, it looks like an island from the outside, but inside it's like a death maze and everything. So, could have been really cool. We get to the island. All the fights from these other fighters, more Earth fighters, I would say, are pretty easy. It's like the first two rounds are okay and this and that. It's Liu Kang fights, and he fights this guy. He's a good fighter. Liu Kang beats him, and the guy is like on the floor. But Shang Tsung steals a soul, and then now they understand. They're like, oh shit. So anytime you lose, you either have to die or you get your soul taken by Shang Tsung. So now the stakes are higher. Like, I'm going to lose. I'm going to lose my soul. Sonya gets her revenge. She fights Kano. Kano fights dirty, and she ends up snapping his neck. The next fight is a pretty serious fight. That's when the fights are starting to elevate. Johnny Cage fights Scorpion in this one epic fight. Okay, so the fights are very choreographed. Come on. They're really cool. They're really cool fights. They're great fights. That Scorpion fight with Johnny Cage, super cool. It's super brutal. And then it does like video game stuff where like he takes off his face and turns into a skull and he's breathing fire. Come on. Awesome. That's really cool. Shang Tsung is like, enough of this. This stuff is lame. We need to up the ante. So he sends out Goro. And Goro literally kills everyone. I'm going to say everyone because the last 3-4 people are Liu Kang, Sonya Blade, and Johnny Cage. Goro kills everyone. He like smashes bones, breaks necks, rips limbs, and just killing people. And it's done with like really cool animatronics and puppetry. That like I remember seeing that and thinking like that's a real 4-armed person. It's a dragon man. And more power to that, like if we could get more of that puppetry and animatronic, I'm sure the technology's gotten better. That was really cool. I remember thinking that. Even now, like, I wish I had the money to put myself in said suit and then, like, not have a Goro head, but just be like a roll head and just walk around with 4 arms all day and just be like, not even act like Goro, just go to work like that with 4 arms and just be like, "Sup, guys?" And everyone would just look at me and be like, "Dude, what's going on here?" "Oh, I'm just, going to work." They're like, "Nah, dude, you got 4 arms." Yeah, I know. It's I'm Goro. I'm Goro now. You're Goro from Mortal Kombat? Yeah, that's cool. Do your arms work? Yeah, man. All four. I could do this and do that at the same time. Wow. You know what? It's a great idea. You deserve a raise. And that's how I got a raise at work. I'm just kidding. Yeah, the animatronics in that are really great. So Goro is killing everybody, right? A respected martial artist goes to fight too. His name is Art. And Johnny Cage knows him. And he loves the guy. He's like, oh man, this guy's genuine. And he's a real artist. And he's a martial artist, of course. And Goro kills him. And this is Johnny Cage's reason to actually like fight back and really try this time. He becomes selfless, and Raiden understands that, and so Johnny Cage challenges Goro, which is unheard of, and Goro was like, all right, I'll snap your neck. And they fight, and it's a terrible execution. Well, the fight in the beginning, like, Goro shows up, Johnny Cage shows up, Goro grabs his glasses and breaks them. And then Johnny Cage goes, those were $500 sunglasses. A hole, and then he like does the splits and punches him in the crotch, and Goro's like, "Arr!" Johnny Cage kind of like escapes, and Goro goes looking for him, and then they're fighting on the edge of a cliff on the side of this big mountain. It's done in a wide shot, so you could see like them actually fighting, but they're clever. They're clever, you know. I guess they ran out of money, and they're just like, man, we got to make this fight like at least cool. And it wasn't. It was just like using shots that they've already used of him getting kicked in the face and this and that. Goro falls over. Goro's hanging off of the cliff. Johnny Cage says his catchphrase. This is the part where you let go. No. That's not even the line. What the hell? The line is, this is the part where you fall down. And then Goro falls to his death. And we're like, oh, okay, cool. And then Shang Tsung pulls a fast one here and grabs Sonya Blade, and he travels to the Outworld. Raiden tells him, like, I can't travel back there. I can't go over there. And you're like, oh, all right. So Liu Kang and Johnny Cage, the last two people from this like monster cruise of like, it felt like 80 people. Like 80 people. And now they're down to the last two. So Johnny Cage, Liu Kang go to the Outworld. They see Outworld and it is destroyed. It's like deserted, and it's just like old ancient buildings from gods and champions have been destroyed and everything. And they're like, let's walk to that giant pillar with skulls and light. I think she's there, you know? Without any guidance, they're just like, well, let's just go there, see what's up. So they're walking, and this next fight is a fight that has like been cemented into my brain forever. Okay? This next fight is like something I want to do when I grow up. Meaning, like, I don't know what I mean, but this is anyways, it's Liu Kang and Johnny Cage, and there's like, I guess, survivors or people that are just, you know, scavenging. Liu Kang for some reason sees and hears something, and he's like, well, he's like, hold on. And he tells Johnny Cage, and Johnny Cage is like, what are we doing? And Liu Kang's just walking to this wall carefully, aimlessly, and he's just kind of like, he reaches into the wall and he pulls a creature out, and it's Reptile, and Reptile's like freaking out. He's like, I mean, he's like freaking out. He's freaking out, and he throws him to that one statue I said earlier about, where it's like, it's a statue, but there's like organic matter inside of it. Like there's still like flesh, meat, and bone. Liu Kang threw him in there, and then the organic matter starts to grab Reptile and pull him back in. And then he starts to fuse with it, and then like the statue starts to come alive, and that's how he gets a human body. And so then like this like techno music starts bumping, like, and you just hear a name, Reptile. And then Reptile forms, gets up, starts sprinting, does a backflip double kick into Liu Kang's chest. Liu Kang flies through a brick wall into another room. And then Reptile looks in to see, he's like, did I kill him? No, I didn't. He's still alive. Let's go kick his ass. So he runs in and they start fighting. And then they fight, and then the music starts getting into the best parts of the song, and then they're fighting. They're doing backflips, they're doing front kicks, they're doing side flips, they're getting thrown into walls and pillars, and yeah. And then we see Liu Kang's bicycle kick, and he like kicks the shit out of Reptile. He's just like kicking the shit, so it's like he's kicking the shit out of Reptile. Reptile's turning back to human, and then not human, and then stone, and then he kicks his ass out the same hole he was thrown into, and he just turns back to stone, and he breaks, and all these like insects come out, and then Reptile is like defeated, and he's like crawling out of this organic statue thing, and he's like all beat up and whatever, and then Liu Kang stomps the shit out of him. He's like, Reptile's dead. Greatest fight ever. What I don't understand is why Johnny Cage didn't join, you know? He could have just been like, you know what, this seems like a fight only Liu Kang can do. Or maybe he was just scared, or maybe he was fighting, or maybe he, didn't make sense. Anyways, they run into Katana again. She's like, I'll get you guys in the Pillar of Light and Skulls. They go in, and they're disguised as monks. Sonya Blade is like strung up, like she's going to get 40 lashes in Times Square. Shang Tsung chooses to fight Johnny Cage, but he's dodging the fight. Robin Shu shows up, Liu Kang, and he's like, no, you're going to fight me. And then they fight. The Mortal Kombat theme plays for like 2.5 seconds, and then he does like the Dragon Fist where like fire comes out. Shang Tsung falls into these like metallic spikes that came out of the floor, falls on one of them, dies. Because of that, all of the spirits and souls that he's taken throughout the years are released, and they won Mortal Kombat. And now they're back on the island. Raiden catches up with them. They're like, all right, let's get the hell out of here. Then they go back to where Liu Kang's from, where the monk civilization is. They're like, all right, cool, man. You did a good job, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, we did it. Yeah. The end. Or not so much. Then the sky starts to turn dark. The clouds like start to move away, and it's getting darker and darker. This big giant thunderbolt destroys the temple that the civilization is from, and it just completely obliterates. And then Shao Kahn appears. Shao Kahn. You thought Shang Tsung was bad. Shang Tsung was just a sorcerer sent to Earth to collect souls. Shao Kahn is the guy that sent him. Shao Kahn looks down at the mortals that just won Mortal Kombat, and he's like, you weak, pathetic fools, I've come for your souls. And then Raiden gets all sparky and electric-like, and he's like, I don't think so. And then they get into their fighting stance, and then the music starts, and then that's it, it's over. Scene and cut. Yeah. This movie, man, I've seen it like a million times. I like want to watch it right now, just talking about it. I think the first time I ever saw it is at like my cousin's house years ago. They had on Street Fighter, the 90s one. And then they put this one on. No, then they had some other one. I forgot what it was, but they were running away. I think it was Street Fighter. They were on this truck and they were throwing bombs, but the guy was using a Game Boy to throw bombs. And I'm like, where's that from? And I always thought it was Mortal Kombat, but then I realized it was Street Fighter. But now I don't even think it was Street Fighter. Anyways, they had on Street Fighter, and then they put this one on, and I remember running around outside, and I came back in, and then I saw Scorpion and Sub-Zero on that boat scene, and then I saw Goro, and I'm like, oh shit, what is this? And I like loved it ever since, and I love it to this day. It was, one of those moments where it's like, oh man, what is this? Like it just like this whole movie has cemented into my brain, but it also brings back other memories when I watch this movie, like of the time of who I was and where I was, and how young I was, and all those memories of fighting my brothers and sister and my cousins. It's just, I remember the houses we lived at, and I remember the places we would go, and it's just, I don't know, this movie is like, it triggers so many memories when I watch it, and it just makes me laugh. And again, it's very nostalgic, yes, but this is the thing, the things you grow up with, it just triggers other memories and other feelings, and you're like, wow, dude, I've come a long way. Now, I wanted to talk about Mortal Kombat, yes, but I also wanted to talk about how this IP crosses into other media, like comic books, graphic novels. It came from video games, and it's making movies, and there was a show, and I would watch it. There was a show on UPN, I think. Well, to us, if you're from California, UPN was Channel 13. There's no more UPN, I think. If there is, they should get that show back. There was a Mortal Kombat show. It was, I think, years ago. It wasn't Mortal Kombat, the movie we know, or the game. It was focused on Kung Lao, Liu Kang's great-grandfather, I believe. And he has the spinning hat disc that can cut people. It was based on him, and I think Raiden and a few other fighters. It was kind of cool from what I remember. They introduced all these other characters. They did have Outworld. They did have I don't think it was Shang Tsung. I think they had Shinnok, which is Raiden and Shao Kahn's father. I think they had Goro. I'm not too sure. They had this other character named Blaze, who's like made several cameos in all of the games. He's like a character that fights on a bridge in the video game. Like, you're fighting on a bridge or on a mountain, and then in the way in the background in the games, you see this guy on fire, but he's not on fire. That's just how and what he is, and he's fighting this other dude. That character's name is Blaze, and he was in the show. So I remember that, and I remember them fighting all the time, and it had like this weird Hercules feel to it, and I thought, like, I would watch Hercules, and I would watch this, and I would watch Xena. From what I remember the most of the show is that a lot of people were dying, and it ends with like most of them losing and dying. And that was the cliffhanger. And I thought, like, what a depressing show. And then I would tell people, like, hey, there was a Mortal Kombat show, and then it ends with everyone dying. It was just a really sad, messed up ending. And then, I kind of took that with me, and it was just like, it was a really dark ending, Like, I like that ending, and I love the ending for Empire Strike Back, Star Wars. Those two endings. I love the Dark Knight's ending because it's just brutal. So I think that just like left this weird sense of dark endings with me, and I just love that more than a happy ending. That just it's strange how it connects with Mortal Kombat. Like, Mortal Kombat ends with them winning, but then they're like, oh crap, the next impending doom is coming. And then the show ends with them just losing, and then the show got canceled, and they never made another one. But apparently they were planning to make a sequel, well, not a sequel, but another season where they win, but they never shot the winning season. They just shot this, and they canceled the show. And I always thought, like, man, everybody dies? What the hell? The games are so much fun. And like I see my brothers play them all the time, all the time. They're like first in line to get Mortal Kombat all the time. My younger brother especially, he'll like pre-order it and get all the stuff and just get all the characters you can't really get. And I see him play and I'm just like, man, it's come a long way. Mortal Kombat has come a long way. I don't see it resting at all. I don't see that. Yeah, Mortal Kombat was created by, I don't want to get this wrong, Ed Boon and John Tobias. They both created Mortal Kombat. And I remember seeing a little documentary about it. They created the game, and there was so much flack about this, where it was like, it's too violent, it's too bloody, it's too this, it's too that. But, you know, like Vin Diesel said, we need video games, man. Nah, I don't know. He says that in Triple X. Not the porno, the movie Triple X. This is like, yeah, it's very nostalgic. It's very cool. It crosses into other medias. You tell anyone who doesn't know about Mortal Kombat, you tell them Mortal Kombat, you just say Mortal Kombat and they'll be like, yeah, I know what that is. Even people that aren't into the movie or the video games, they know what that is. They know what the symbol is. It's the dragon in the circle and stuff. Years ago, I was opening a bank account at, I forgot which bank it was. And years ago, I told this lady, they're like, oh yeah, I want to be an actor and stuff. She's like, oh cool, my son is like an actor. And I'm like an actor, what does that mean? And she's like, he does video game stuff. Like he puts on the suit and he has cameras on him and like cameras on his body. And this was like, she was describing motion capture to me, and this was like before Avatar. No, not really. This was like around, I guess, when they were making Avatar, but Lord of the Rings had already come out, so they kind of already perfected motion capture for games. But she was describing that to me. I was like, what is that? What are you talking about? And she's like, yeah, he's working on this thing. And she was getting the name wrong, but I knew right away what she was talking about. She was like saying immortal battle or something like that. And I'm like, Mortal Kombat? And she was like, yeah, with the dragon and this. Yeah, and I knew right away. I was like, oh, Ty, that's really cool. And she was like, yeah, I don't know who he plays, but he does that for a living. And I'm like, wow. And I think that's considered acting, I guess, because you're using parts of your likeness, your body, and this and that. Yeah, I was like, this lady from a bank who I've met like once or twice years ago knew what Mortal Kombat was. A lot of people do. And it's great. Like my parents know what Mortal Kombat is. I'll like just show them an image of like the dragon or scorpion or Sub-Zero, and they're like, oh yeah, Mortal Kombat. Everybody, and I'm so glad. This movie though is like flying under the radar now. It's considered as like cheesy or a video game movie or maybe even a cult film now because it's just not as popular. But I think like if you just go back to this, it's pretty solid. It's just like, how do we get people to the island? Boom. We're on the island. Boom. Everybody's fighting. Everybody's dying. Boom. You know, it's so quick. It's so good. The new one, I do have my issues with the new one, but again, like they did their best, and I enjoyed it for what it was. Again, they called it Mortal Kombat, but they were never on the island, and they were just in this area, and they were fighting. The fighting was cool. The violence was cool. The way things are put together was really cool. They got the idea of like Scorpion and Sub-Zero hating each other right from the beginning. You got to see other characters, and I don't think some are made up. I think some are just fodder. I want to say like these are the people that are going to die in the movie. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay, they're not that important. They're just here for this character to beat up and move on and get to the end. Yeah, but I mean, you know, if they work the kinks out in the sequel, I'm sure it'll do great. Yeah, well, that was it, guys. Mortal Kombat, 1995. If you like this movie, leave a comment. If you don't like this movie, leave a comment. What are your earliest memories of this movie? Do you play the games? Do you like the movie? Do you like the games? Do you like the new movie? Do you hate this movie? Do you like this podcast? Do you hate this podcast? Leave a comment. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening, actually. Thank you for spending time with me. I will drop another one next week, and you guys have a great and wonderful day. Bye-bye.